we'll start off with the Amanda Serrano fight, Bryan, because I think there's a lot to say about that fight, about Amanda Serrano and what she has actually meant to boxing within the past few years, but she's been on the grind for a very, very long time. She puts on a great performance against Danila Ramos, right? And she pretty much sweeps every round. You were
She
there
did.
at
I
the
think all
fight.
three judges gave her 120 to
Yeah,
108.
that's what it was. I mean, it really wasn't much of a contest. And even Danila Ramos, her eye was swollen after the third round. Like you could see some swelling after the third round and whatnot. But she put on a great performance and she made history.
I think Danila Ramos should be commended for her toughness because there were several points in the actual fight that I thought she was going down. And as somebody who bet Amanda Serrano by knockout, that did not happen, though I felt like we got pretty close at multiple different times in the fight. But Amanda Serrano hasn't gotten a knockout in a while, but is still a very, very dominant. I mean, it's hard to get rounds off of her.
Yeah.
Never mind beating her, except if you're Katie Taylor. And Katie Taylor was also 2 weight classes bigger and also quite debatable, as we've talked about on the show. But ultimately, I think Danilo Ramos should be commended for her toughness. Like, that's a legit opponent. That's a legit challenger. And Amanda Serrano basically said in the press conference, like, her and her team was like, look, this isn't a gimmick. They want to continue to defend the belts 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds, and, just sort of operating in that way. Now, does that mean it's going to be Alicia Baumgartner? Does that mean it's going to be? I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like because people who deal with Amanda Serrano's team believes that they're going to be the A side in every fight going forward. And why would you not think that? Because there's really nobody in boxing she should be the B side against, save for maybe a rematch with Katie Taylor, because Katie Taylor edged out the first one according to the judges, 2 of them at least. But I thought the fight was great. It was a great show, and Danilo Ramos was a very spirited challenger. But Amanda Serrano, who threw over 1,100 punches in 12 rounds,
Yeah.
obviously put on the performance that she needed to, I thought.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show like her stardom continues to grow. And the fact that she wants to continue to fight these 3-minute 12 rounds just shows you that this is going to be something we're going to be seeing more in women's boxing. And that's what we want to see. Now, when I heard this fight got announced, I honestly thought that Amanda Serrano would get the stoppage in this fight. But nonetheless, Tyrone the Great, and we are going to get to all of your comments. So please leave some comments. Not the crying face one, but that was about me. I'm pretty sure that was about me hitting the clubs underage. But he says, I am kind of glad I went the distance. And I actually am as well, because she put on a performance, like a master class performance, and just showed off her skill. Now, I think the biggest question, though, is what's next for Amanda, right? Because you talked about it. She's going to be the A side. She should be the A side for all of these fights, except for probably if she fights Katie Taylor again. But I think that's the rematch that I want to see the most, because personally, I had Amanda winning 6 rounds to 4. So it was to my surprise when Katie Taylor won that fight. But I would love to see that rematch. And we don't really know what's going on with Alicia Baumgartner. So it's one of those fights that I don't see happening anytime soon. So if the rematch can happen, because of course Katie Taylor, Shantelle Cameron, they're going to be having their rematch. But would you like to see Serrano and Taylor more than anything in a rematch?
I would say that it really depends on what happens with Alicia Baumgartner, because I would love to see Amanda Serrano fight Alicia Baumgartner next, but we don't even know if Baumgartner is clean. What's up with the steroid situation where she tested positive for multiple steroids, and Lou DiBella, who was promoting her opponent, name is escaping me right now, but regardless, said that, hey, Alicia Baumgartner, like, this is a real drug. And I did some research, and we looked at some of the athletes who had tested positive with that in their system, one of which included Alex Rodriguez. So it was like, okay, what's going to happen here? Now, boxing being boxing, we've sort of forgotten about that as a sport. And what's going to happen now moving forward with Alicia Baumgartner's sort of situation? I don't know. But to me, that's the fight I would want to see the most, Amanda Serrano versus Alicia Baumgartner. And if we get the Katie Taylor one, obviously, I'm not going to be mad at that either. I think the Katie Taylor one could lose a little bit of luster if Katie Taylor loses his next fight against Shantelle Cameron.
But Shantelle Cameron's such a good boxer. Like, in that first fight, I was just like,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? That, like, she's also bigger than her. Like, that's not Katie Taylor's natural weight class. So at the same time, like, she gave Katie Taylor a very, very good fight. And I kind of see the second fight going the exact same way, to be honest with you. I see Shantelle Cameron winning again. But as for Amanda Serrano, I think, Bryan, we talk about this a lot. And so, she's making history. She's fighting these 3-minute 12 rounders. She has been a champ in so many different weight classes. She's done it consistently for a long period of time. She's not only the face of women's boxing, she's the face of Puerto Rican boxing, which you pretty much said she definitely is. And she's also a face of boxing, right? So when we take a look at the pound for pound list, and I think people might get mad, but MMA, because we're going to talk a little Fury and Gani a little bit later, when they make a list, they put the men and women together sometimes, right? You'll see them rank it like that. Boxing doesn't do that. But in boxing, if we were to make a pound for pound list with men and women, Amanda Serrano would probably be in my top 3.
I'm thinking about this. I probably have her 4th. Now that I think about it, I might have her 3rd too. Like, because I know your 3rd one is Alexander Usyk.
That's where I'm putting Amanda though, top 3. That's what I said. So I have I would have Bud, Inoue, and Serrano, and I'm not going to leave Clarissa Shields off the list either. She would definitely be in my top 5 as well.
But Amanda Serrano's beat better competition, I think, pound for pound at least, throughout the course of her career. Not to say Clarissa Shields hasn't beaten anybody, because she's beaten some people, but
I think it's just the weight class.
That's what it is. It's like it's harder in the lighter weight classes. You have so many more challengers, and I guess the thing that I'm struggling with here is if it's not, because I feel like it's obvious, right? Baumgartner, Katie Taylor, in whatever order for Amanda Serrano to fight next. But who, if not one of them, who would you want to see Amanda Serrano fight? Because I don't feel like it's going to be Katie Taylor again. And I don't feel like the Alicia Baumgartner one's going to happen unless we just sort of throw the positive tests out the window and it's like, okay, or she's clean, she's actually innocent or whatever, like the ruling is, if there is even going to be one. But I just wonder what's that going to look like. And I think, is it going to be Sky Nicholson or somebody like that? Like, I wonder what's sort of the challenge there. But I think Amanda Serrano, otherwise, if it's not one of those two, she'll probably be a heavy favorite for her next fight. But in terms of combining pound for pound lists, like, yeah, I think reasonably people should probably have her definitely in the top 10, likely in the top 5. I think the line of demarcation for me is whether she's above or below Alexander Usyk in this sort of fictitious combining pound for pound list that I don't think people in boxing are going to have the balls to make after Terence Crawford and Naoya Inoue.